What's up, guys? Mark here for Legend Diaries. Okay, so we've got 21 Jump Street review going on right now. This is my first review, so let's hope it turns out well. And I've been watching this for the last week or 5 days or so, or something like that. And I'm pretty sure I'm ready to review this movie by now. So, 21 Jump Street, basically the whole premise of it is that it is an undercover program for young-looking police officers, and their job is to infiltrate high schools and bust drug dealers, prostitution rings, and whatever else you could think of that high school kids would do, murderers, whatever. So this movie stars Channing Tatum as Officer Jenko, Jonah Hill as Officer Schmidt, Nick Offerman, who is also known as Ron Swanson, as Captain Hardy, Brie Larson as Molly Tracy, who was the love interest of Officer Schmidt, Dave Franco, who is Eric, one of the cool kids, Holly Robinson, Johnny Depp, and Peter DeLuise also make cameos in this movie. Maybe Richard Grieco, I'm not sure, but I'll get into that later. So, like I said, 21 Jump Street for younger looking cops, and so Jenko and Schmidt are in high school, and that's how the movie starts out. They're in high school, and Schmidt's the loser, and Jenko's the cool guy. Played football, and he's a jock. He's cool, but he's not exactly smart. 7 years later, they meet. They cut to 7 years later. They meet up at the police academy, and they buddy up, and they become best friends, so that they can graduate through from the police academy. Now, well, like I said, Schmidt's a smart guy. Well, I didn't say that, but Schmidt's a smarter guy, and Jenko's more physically in shape, so they help each other like that. And so once they graduate from the police academy, they get put on park duty right off the bat. And it's not exactly how they pictured how a cop's job would be. Jenko says that he literally thought that there would be more car chases and explosions instead of like homeless people doo-dooing everywhere. So while they're at the park doing their duty, they're in their park duty, whatever. I don't know what to say about that. Or call that. While they're patrolling, that's the word I'm looking for. While they're patrolling, they see the 1% bike gang, and there's a bunch of 1%ers right there, just smoking marijuana. So they go over there and try to bust these guys, but they all split. Jenko catches one, and Schmidt lets one go, even though he had a gun pointed at him. So Jenko has this guy captured on the ground, cuffed, and he's on his belly, cuffed, cop style, and he starts to dry hump him instead of both of them actually starts to dry hump him after they arrested him and whatnot. Okay, instead of reading the Miranda rights. Now, I'm not sure if it's actually necessary to be read the Miranda rights, pending circumstances or whatever, / evidence, but I don't know. Someone double check that for me. Anyway, so because of this mistake, they get transferred to 21 Jump Street since it's a program for immature seeming officers and younger looking officers, which Captain Hardy tells them about, and he sends them off to 37 Jump Street. Wait, 21 Jump Street. And he actually has a great line where he says, the guys that are in charge of this lack creativity, and they just recycle stuff from the past and hope we don't notice. Awesome line. So they get transferred to under Captain. Oh, I'm sorry. Nick Offerman's role is only Deputy Captain Hardy, and Ice Cube is actually the captain for. Sorry, hold on, phone's ringing. Anyway, so oh, okay, Captain Dixon. Yeah, Captain Dixon is their captain, played by Ice Cube. I didn't mention that earlier. So he's the stereotypical black angry cop who's a captain. So So once they get acquainted with him, they tell him about this new synthetic drug that's out there called HFS, and I'm sure you can guess what that means. But I'll give you the first word. It's holy. So they get sent to Sagan High School because a kid overdosed on this new drug, HFS, and it actually matters because he's white. I love black people. Just putting that out there. So so they get to the high school, and it's completely opposite of what they expected it to be. Like, it's opposite of how it was back for them when they were in high school. Like, what's cool is, like, biodiesel fuel kind of deal for your car, Greenpeace, all that stuff. Hipster stuff, actually. So, and they find out that the cool kid basically is Eric, who is like all around good guy, cool guy, hipster, but everyone loves him anyway. Essentially, that's what that's all it is about. That's all that's really that great about him. They found out he's a cool guy, and right off the bat, Jenko gets in trouble with the principal for punching one of Eric's friends who was actually trying, which wasn't cool back then, when during Jenko's high school days, and he gets in Jenko's face. So he punches the kid, gets sent to the principal's office, and he says if they're caught or if they do anything bad and they get sent to the principal's office, they get punished for it by expulsion. So they have to avoid that, and here's where it goes wrong for them. The principal gives them their identities, right? And Jenko is supposed to be Doug McQuaid, and Schmidt is supposed to be Brad McQuaid. Brad is the smart guy, Schmidt is the athletic guy, all county and track, etc., etc. So they've got their identities mixed up now, and Jenko has to take all these hard classes with the nerdy kids, and Schmidt has to take the unacademic classes, basically like drama, drama and I don't even know what other stuff, but yeah. Ooh, phone's ringing. So we've got that going on, and with that said, sorry, totally lost my train of thought. Okay, so he has to take the hard classes basically. Jenko has to take the hard classes, and Schmidt has to take the easy classes, or the easy classes that a jock that's not smart would take. Sorry, I'm trying to be PC here. So that goes on, and immediately he noticed. You can tell that Jenko's the loser in here of the two of them, and Schmidt is the cool guy, just because of how Schmidt was in high school, and apparently that's cool now. And and it's pretty evident that like they basically telegraph this movie, but it's still funny how they do it. He has to buddy up with the nerds, and Schmidt is a cool guy. Okay, so they find out that Eric's the dealer. He makes them take the drug on the spot once they find out that they can get the drugs from him. So once that goes on, they're tripping majorly, and they go through the phases that the kid Billy did. You can tell, you know what phases he goes through because they put up a video of him, or he put up a video of himself tripping on it. And once that happens, I believe. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. They have. Once that happens, they take the drug to prove that they're not narcs and that they're cool, whatever. Right on the spot in front of Eric. So they take it, and they try to finger each other's mouths. So, and then it was just the best exchange ever. Of the fun. There's no other funny way of making someone puke than the way they did it. So, and a janitor even walks in. Hilarious. So they gave up on trying to vomit it out because they didn't want to OD. That's why they tried to vomit it out in the first place. But they gave up on that, so they walk into the Coach Walters, who's played by Rob Riggle, as I mentioned. So once that happens, they're late for class, and they can't. If they're late for class, they get sent to the principal's office. And so Rob Riggle cuts a deal with them and has Doug run the track, or he has Doug run anchor for the track team, which is Schmidt. And if you know Jonah Hill's not exactly one that looks like he's a track star, if you know what I mean. So, got that. Then Schmidt inadvertently sabotages the race because he's still higher than a kite tied to the space shuttle. So he sabotages the race, which gains the favor of what's his name, Coach Walter, or not Coach Walters, Eric. So he does that, and so he gains the favor of Eric, the cool guy, but Janko still is on still has no friendship with Eric, even though he tries really hard. He comes off as pretty desperate, actually, when he tried to be friends with Eric. So we've got that going on. And then once they get home, or the next day, Janko actually buddies up more with the nerdy kid. Well, he doesn't really buddy up, but kind of warms up to them. And it's not like he wanted this, though. So he tries to get him to... Okay, he buddies up with the nerdy kids, and he finds out that they can actually wiretap some cell phones, put in spyware. So once that goes on, okay, and he finds out that he can install spyware onto their phones. After that, they both have lunch, both Janko and Schmidt, and Schmidt tells them that he'd actually be a cool kid. Like, if he had gone to high school at this time, he'd be a cool kid. So once they and to get in with these cool kids, they actually need to do something highly irresponsible, which means that they actually throw a party. So when they do this party, they needed alcohol and drugs. So, and which is pretty easy for them to access because they're both cops, and they're above 21. However, Captain Dixon finds out, or hears rumors in the Twittersphere, that they're throwing a party, and that if they're caught giving alcohol to minors, that they will find themselves in jail with a snorkel duct taped to their mouths, with Captain Dixon taking a poop inside that snorkel. Quite the image. So they throw the party anyway, and Eric shows up. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit again. So Schmidt invites Molly, and Molly just posts this event on Facebook, and then she gets Schmidt to go and the gay black kid to go. he gets him to go. So, the gay black kid's the one that Janko punched in the face. I love gay black kids too. So we've got that happening, and the party's going great until someone from Kennedy High School, I forgot his name, but I forgot his name. I'm not going to try to remember right now, but somebody from Kennedy High School shows up to Schmidt's house, or Doug's house, I should say. Shows up to Doug's house, and they throw a party, or while they're having the party, and then a fight breaks out. While all this is happening, though, the nerdy kids gotta manage to get their hands on the phone of Eric, and they install spyware into it. Excuse me. Sorry. So they install the spyware, and they actually managed to get it back on Eric in time because of the fight, and they actually stay for the party because of how awesome the fight was. I guess there's a fight, and Janko took on like 5 guys, and Schmidt only took on 1 guy, but he bashed his head with some vase. It was hilarious. And then he ends up getting stabbed, which is awesome to him. I would not be thinking that at all. I'd probably cry. Anyway, the party gets broken up by Schmidt's parents. They come home, and they're all mad and stuff. And then in the scene after that, they're at a shooting range, a police shooting range, and and Jenko, sorry, I'm getting mixed up with all these names. Okay, Jenko tells Schmidt that he wiretapped his phone, that guy's phone. So that happened. What else? Oh, he wires out the phone, and Schmidt isn't particularly happy about that, but he lets it happen anyway. So we've got Eric's phone wiretapped, and one second, guys. Okay, so okay. So after the party, actually, I forgot to mention that after the party, the Eric and I keep saying Jonah in my head. Okay, sorry. Eric and Schmidt are seen running outside away from the party, and Eric actually really likes Schmidt, so he asks him if Schmidt wants to be involved within the party or within selling his HFS, which isn't actually his. He just sells it. It's okay. Getting off track again. So now Jenko's feeling more isolated from Schmidt now because Schmidt's become one of the cool kids, and Schmidt actually begins to lose himself, or Doug / Schmidt begins to lose himself, and his sense of self as he hangs out more with his new in crowd, and almost really splits them up. And what causes the rift to deepen is Schmidt is overheard by Jenko calling him Rain Man, but bad at math. When Jenko confronts him about that, and Jenko making him late for his play with Molly later in the movie, that actually just makes it almost splits them up, actually. And that actually gets them fired from the force, actually, from 21 Jump Street. Okay, but Eric, however, ends up fixing their relationship later, since they asked him to both be a security detail at prom, which neither of them went to because Schmidt didn't have a date in high school, and Jenko didn't have the grades to be prom king, or even go to prom. But let me backtrack from that a little bit because I'm getting ahead of myself. Jenko overhears that there's a contact for Eric to meet up with a stuffed pinata, which I don't blame them for thinking it's a code for sex. It's kind of sketchy. So they go on they realize that the 1%, they follow Eric and the gay black kid. I can't remember his name. Sorry, I have to call him that. But they follow Eric and his friend. They follow him to the new contacts, and they realize it's the 1%ers, and they follow the 1%ers to the point where they accidentally hit one of the 1%ers' bikes and land on his car, and then the 1%er attacks, and Jonah Hill goes nuts screaming, ZZ Top, ZZ Top. Which is pretty cheesy, but I thought it was kind of funny. The first couple times, it was pretty funny. So they go on the chase, and they're late for the play with Molly. What's his name? Schmidt is late for the play with Molly, who he really likes. And Molly doesn't even want to go to prom with him anymore. And they already agreed that they would go to prom together. So at prom, the dealers are there. They find out that the dealer is actually Coach Walters, a.k.a. Rob Riggle. Coach Walters, the dealer's Eric. We already knew that, but the producer / supplier is Coach Walters, and the new customers were going to be the 1%ers, which is why they had the stuffed pinata, which they actually like this product. So, at which point the 1%ers are in the hotel room where they're doing the exchange, and they actually recognize the Schmidt immediately. Actually, they recognize Schmidt, and okay. and they're told that they bust out their guns, and everyone has guns pointed at each other. And Molly's in there, but she got into the room because Eric tried to escape. Sorry, I have this weird burping problem right now. Anyway, oh wow. Anyway, so they have guns pointed at each other, and Domingo tries to, the leader of the One Percenters. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but the leader of the One Percenters tells Jenko and Schmidt to put the guns down, and they do. But he tells this guy who's a One Percenter, DB, to kill him and shoot him. But it turns out the DB is Officer Tom Hansen, and he has a partner named Officer Peter DeLuise, or Officer Doug Penhall. Now, you might recognize these names, but I'll get to that later. Okay, so we've got Tom Hansen and Doug Penhall. They're both DEA, and they've got guns pointed at them, but they're killed off. It's not that important. So they go on a chase. Long story short, they catch everybody. Rob Riggle goes to jail as Coach Walters, and he's shot in an area where it's not exactly the best place to be shot if you're a guy. Okay, so actually, let's see. Oh, okay, so that's the movie, and I found it amazingly hilarious. So now we've got. Okay, so now I mentioned Tom Hansen, Doug Penhall, and a couple other guys. So if you notice, and I'm sure you know, Johnny Depp was actually playing Tom Henson. And Peter DeLuise was playing Doug Penhall. And if you knew that, or if you hadn't, okay, sorry, let me backtrack. Let me clear up my mouth a little bit. Doug Penhall is actually Doug Penhall, Tom Hansen, and Judy Hopps are actually original cast members of the show 21 Jump Street, which is what this movie was based on. And so they all make appearances. Holly Robinson is around the 20-minute mark. Holly Robinson Pete, aka Officer Judy Hopps, was at the 20-minute mark. She was an original character, like I said, and Johnny Depp it's near the end. I can't remember specifically. And so was Doug Penhall. They revealed themselves as best friends too. And the interesting fact here is that since they're killed off, that actually marks the end of Tom Henson and Doug Penhall, and that's the end of the. There's no chance that they ever come back to 21 Jump Street if there is a reboot of the series. So that's actually a pretty sad moment considering I just got into the show. Oh, so sad. Anyway, so yeah, and apparently I'm not sure about this, but Richard Grieco makes an appearance somewhere in the back, maybe as an extra, sadly, as Officer Booker, which was his character in 21 Jump Street. And you might notice that Dustin Nguyen is missing, who is the Asian kid from 21 Jump Street. His name is Harry Truman Aoki. He's actually not missing, but he's not filmed per se. He's actually on the TVs in the hotel room where the exchange goes on, and before the TV, basically whenever he was shown on TV, the TVs that he was shown on, they were shot, like with a bullet and a gun and whatever. You get the point. So yeah. Let's see. I don't think I'm missing much else, but other than that, what I want to comment on is how the series was actually the series is actually pretty dark. Like, I'm watching it and it's not a happy-go-lucky comedy like the movie is, which Richard Grieco actually points out. But I like the comedy that they put in it, and I like how it's still like generic happy story, somewhat anticlimactic 80s cop movie. I liked it. If I would definitely recommend it. I definitely recommend that you watch both the movie and the show. and I have links to where you could watch it. Besides that, it was a pretty good movie. I'd give it 4 out of 5. It was, yeah, 4 out of 5 seems fair to me. If there's anything else I'm missing, I'll update the description and I'll let you guys know. But other than that, hope you guys have a good day and chive on. Thanks for watching.